Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David, and in this video I will show you map expansion number 8 for Ticket to Ride, and this is Iberia and South Korea. One of the base games is required for this expansion, although you only need the trains and the score marker. One side of the board has Iberia, Spain and Portugal, and the other side has South Korea. On both maps we're gonna draft or destination tickets. And in Iberia you can score extra points by collecting festival tickets, and on the South Korean side you can score extra points by investing your train into the regions. So please let me show you how it's played. Let's start with Iberia, and we have 110 train cards. At the start of the game you will give 4 cards to each player. Then you'll put, as normal, 5 cards in the display. At any moment when there are 3 of those locomotives, wild cards, in the offer, you will remove all 5 cards and draw 5 new ones. And then we're gonna shuffle these festival cards into the deck. So first deal out cards to the players and put them in the offer. Then you're gonna shuffle them into the deck. And these cards you can score when you make a connection to the city mentioned on the card. Once you shuffle them into the deck, first all players will get their destination tickets. And this time we're gonna do that by drafting the cards. All players will get 6 random destination tickets. Then you're going to choose one. Keep that one, and you give the other 5 cards to the neighbor to your left. So from your neighbor on the right side you will get 5 cards also. Again, you're going to pick one, and the other 4 pass to the player on the left. So again, from the other player on the left, or opposite if you're playing maybe a 2-player game, you will get 4 cards. And so you continue drafting until all players have again 6 cards. From those 6 cards you need to select 4 cards, no less, no more. You have to take 4 of those cards. So you try to get the cards that you can combine a little that are in the same region. And with those 4 destination tickets you're gonna start the game. All other discarded tickets are shuffled into the ticket deck and will be available later in the game. In the first part of the game you are not allowed to draw extra tickets during your turn, but we do have this ticket draft card. When playing with 2 players you will put it somewhere in the middle. In a 3-player game place it roughly on 2/3 of the deck, and in a 4 or 5-player game you put it roughly on 3/4 of the deck. If during the game this card comes up, the player that draws this card, you cannot see it coming, puts it aside, draws an additional train card if necessary, does his or her turn, and then we will do another draft. Again, all players will get 6 new destination tickets from the destination pile. Only this time the drafting goes the other way around. So you keep 1 card, give 5 cards to your neighbor on the right, and you will get 5 cards from the player to your left. Again, until all players have got 6 new destination tickets. Discard 2 of them. Again, you have to keep exactly 4 of them, and then play will continue. Make sure you keep the destination tickets you've got from the first draft separate from the ones you will get from the second draft. During the second draft you are not allowed to discard cards from your first draft. And for both drafts, once you've chosen a card during the draft, you cannot switch it out later in the draft. And once we got the second draft, then you are allowed during your turn, in addition to taking train cards or placing trains on the board, you can choose as an action to draw 3 cards from the ticket destination deck, and you have to keep at least 1 of them. So that is how you get your destination tickets in this version of the game. But that's only in this version, not on the other side in the South Korea version. Now for the festival cards, they match with the cities on the board, and you can see the cities that have festival cards, those have those flower symbols, like these symbols. The black spots don't have those festival cards. And whenever a player draws one of those festival cards, you immediately have to place it alongside the board, somewhere close to the location of the card. So in this case, if I want to draw 2 cards from the draw deck and I draw a card and it's a city, in this case it's Valencia, that is over here, you put it somewhere alongside the board or maybe even on the board. Just try to get a little close to the city. This does not count as one of the 2 cards you have drawn, so you can keep drawing from the draw pile until you've reached 2 train cards. Or maybe you will draw a second festival card, in this case A Coruña, and you'll place it somewhere along the board close to that city. And that is how these festival cards come into play. So also if maybe the end of your turn was taking this card and the card you will put over here will be a festival card, you'll immediately place it somewhere along the board. In this case it's Lisboa, so I'll put it over here for the example, and you'll place a new card over here until there are 5 train cards again. And those festival cards will score you points at the end of the game. The more cards you collect from one city, the more points they will be worth. So in this case Barcelona, there are 5 cards of Barcelona in the game. If at the end of the game you have collected one festival card from Barcelona, you will score 5 points. Should you manage to collect 4 or more of them, you will score 11 points. For Valencia there are even 8 cards in the deck. One card will be worth 2 points, but if you collect 6 or more of them, they will be worth 22 points. There are also some small cities that only have one festival card in the deck, but it's worth 4 points. So here's already one Valencia card, but if another Valencia card comes out during the game, you simply add them together. And how you're gonna score the festival cards? Simply by putting your trains onto the city. So maybe I want to go from Albacete to Valencia. I'll put my 2 trains over here. And now I've made a connection to Valencia. So I'm gonna check, are there any festival tickets of Valencia available? And then I can take all of them. And you simply put them face down and create a pile in front of you containing all the festival tickets you collect. If you make a connection maybe between Barcelona and Valencia and both cities have festival cards available, you have to choose. You can only take the festival tickets from one of the 2 cities. At the end of the game, of course, you will score your normal points for putting the trains onto the track. You score the points from all the destination tickets you've completed, and you will score negative points for all the destination tickets that you did not complete. And then you're going to look at all the festival cards you've collected. You're going to sort them by city, and you're going to count up the total of points you collected with all those cards together. And then whoever has the most points is of course the winner of this side of the board. With both expansions we do not play with the Global Trotter or the longest route bonus, although should there be a tie, the winner is the player who has completed the most destination tickets. And if that's also a tie, the victory is shared. That's it for Iberia. Let's go to South Korea. When playing with the South Korea map, you will add this sheet next to the board. Again, you're gonna shuffle the train card and deal 4 cards to each player. Or for this map you can also use the train card from one of the base games. Oh, I forgot to tell. Iberia, Spain, you will play with 35 of your trains. With South Korea, you will play with 45 of your trains. Again, we're gonna draw our destination tickets, but you do not use this card. So only at the beginning of the game we do a draft. There's no second draft halfway the game. And all players will get one set of these 3 cards, a +1, a +2 and a +3. And you'll simply put them face up in front of you so everybody can see which cards you still have left. And you can use them in multiple ways. So the destination tickets will be drafted. Again, you will get 6 cards. Pass the other 5 cards to the player on your left. You will get 5 cards from the player on your right. And then again you will pick 1 and so on and so on. Until all players have 6 cards again, and you have to keep exactly 4. And all discarded tickets will be shuffled back into the destination ticket deck. And of course there are 5 cards available at the start of the game. Again, your turn will be normal, drawing train cards, putting trains onto the map, connecting 2 cities, or draw destination cards, but you can upgrade your action by using one of these cards. Because when you want to take cards from the train deck, you can use one of these cards. Say I use the +2. Now I get to draw 2 cards from the deck before taking the other 2 cards as normal. I am not allowed to use these cards to take cards from the open offer, only to draw from the draw pile. But it's a nice way to get extra train cards into your hand. And you can also use them when drawing new destination tickets. Because basically you will draw 3 destination tickets and you have to keep at least 1. But again, you can use one of your +1, +2 or +3 cards to draw extra cards. So if you use the +3, you can draw 6 cards. You still have to keep at least one, but in this case you have much more destination tickets to choose from. And if you're very lucky, maybe you can or want to keep all 6 of them. But the main focus of this expansion are the colored regions, because all 8 colors from the train cards are also available on this sheet. And every time you put your trains onto a specific color on the track, you are allowed to place an additional train of you on this sheet. So, for example, if I make a connection from here to here, I'm not going to pronounce that, and I pay with these 3 red cards, I can choose to put an additional train of my own supply onto the red track on this sheet, and since I've played 3 cards, I place it on number 3. It's not about the number of trains you place, it's about the number of cards you pay to place them over here. You are even allowed to play additional cards from your hand, so maybe I want to play 5 red cards, only to place my train on the number 5, although the track still only requires me to put down 3 trains. And you want to get higher on this track, because for all 8 colors at the end of the game we're going to score each color, and the player who has the most points in one color will score more points than the player who has less points in that specific color. And that is also where you can use these cards. If I play 5 cards and I add this card, and these cards can only be used once during the game, now my cards count as 8 points, so I can put my train on number 8. If later in the game the yellow player makes this connection and they pay with 2 red cards, they can put an additional train from their supply onto the red number 2. Or maybe they pay 1 card extra to get it to number 3. And of course, playing a wild card also counts as a red card for this purpose. And when you place trains on one of the gray tracks, you're free to choose in which row you're gonna add your train. If later in the game I'm gonna maybe pay with 3 red cards over here to go from there to there to connect these 2 cities. Number 3 is already taken, so I get the first free space to the left, so in lesser value I can put my train over there. So each time you put down trains on the map, you can choose to pay an additional train to get it onto the sheet and to try to score extra points. But of course this means you also have less trains to put onto the board. And play continues as normal until the end of the game. You're gonna score points again for all the trains you've placed onto the board. For all destination tickets you've completed, you will score minus points for all the destination cards you did not complete it. And then we're gonna have a look at this sheet and we'll have a scorecard reference. And for each color we're gonna look who has the most points. In a 2-player game, only 1 player will score points, there's no second place. So for example, in this case, red is on number 2 and on number 8, so that is together 10 points. Yellow has 3 points, so red is number 1, will score 10 points and the yellow player will score no points. And just to be sure, in order to score, you have to have at least 1 train onto the row of that color. And so for each row you're going to check how many points do the players collect. So during the game you also want to pay a little attention if it's worth the offer of you putting a train over there, based on your judgment if you're going to score points for that or not. And that is the South Korea side of this expansion. So those are the 2 maps in Iberia and South Korea. Iberia has the festival tickets. They will appear alongside the boards during the game, and every time you connect to one of those cities you can take the festival cards if they are available next to the board, and the more you collect of one city, the more points you will get at the end of the game for that city. And in South Korea you can score extra points by spending 1 train on the sheet every time you place your trains onto the board. The number of cards you play for a specific number decides on which number you can put your train, and you can pay extra cards or these booster cards to put your train onto a higher number. And at the end of the game, for each color we're gonna check who has the most points collected for that color, and based on the value of all players you'll score additional bonus points if possible. And these booster cards you can only use once, but you can also use them to draw additional train cards from the train deck or draw additional destination tickets from that deck. That's it, and that's all for the Ticket to Ride map collection number 8. And the only thing you need from the base game are the trains and your score marker. If you have any questions about one of these expansions, please feel free to ask them in the comments below. My name is David, thank you for watching and hope to see you next time.